I'm an old man. I got nothing to do. I don't got no friends.
This old man is sobbing because his animal shelter is about to close. He's hand-making slippers to save it. The internet rallied. Thousands bought his $40 slippers to save those poor animals. Except there are no animals. There's no shelter. And there's no grandpa.
And I'm not asking for money, or other than maybe a comment. Why don't seagulls fly over the bay? If they did, they'd be bagels.
This crying man has owned 47 different animal shelters across TikTok. Sometimes he saves dogs, sometimes cats, sometimes farm animals. Always selling the same $3 slippers for $40. So who's the puppet master behind the tears? How did they fool millions? And why won't TikTok stop them? The formula of fooling millions is deceptively simple, which is exactly why it works. Step 1, elderly person looking distressed. Step 2, overlay text claiming they're desperately trying to save their failing shelter. Step 3, direct viewers to buy products supposedly handmade to save the animals. Step 4, watch the money roll in. TikTok is flooded with these emotional grandpa shelter videos because the platform's algorithm rewards exactly this type of content.
What do you call an elephant in a telephone booth? You call him stuck.
Please share this. Thank you.
The videos typically show an elderly man, cats in the background, hands trembling as he pleads, "Please stay 8 seconds so I don't have to shut down my cat shelter." This technique exploits everything good about social media. People want to help. They see an elderly person struggling and their first instinct isn't skepticism, it's compassion. That 8-second plea is exactly how long emotional triggers need to override critical thinking. The algorithm doesn't distinguish between authentic emotion and manufactured manipulation. Content that provokes strong emotional responses gets amplified, regardless of whether it's real. Sadness, urgency, and moral imperative create the perfect storm for viral reach. These scam accounts multiply faster than platforms can ban them. For every account removed, 3 more appear with identical content but different names. The psychology here is ruthless. When you see someone in distress, especially an elderly person, your brain doesn't stop to fact check. It sees someone who reminds you of your grandfather, and it wants to help. That's not stupidity. That's humanity working exactly as intended. No one's forcing people to buy, but most don't realize it's a business model, not a cry for help. The empathy is real. The manipulation of that empathy is what's fake. But the man you just saw? He doesn't even own a shelter. The elderly faces in these videos aren't actors or willing participants. They're real people whose innocent content has been weaponized by scammers who see vulnerability as opportunity. Clips of George Saftarides are being used without his permission to get people to buy cat slippers, pet toys, and other products that claim to benefit shelters or failing small businesses.
There are videos saying that his wife has cancer and he's trying to make slippers to pay for her cancer treatment, and that's not true.
George is an 84-year-old master tailor who's been in the business for over 66 years. He began tailoring school at the age of 14 and has been involved in the industry for 66 years. George loved sharing videos of himself hand-stitching leather goods, demonstrating techniques passed down through generations. What George didn't know was that scammers were downloading his videos, cropping them, and adding fake narratives about him, supposedly begging for donations to save his failing dog shelter. George has never owned a shelter, he's a tailor, but suddenly his face was everywhere, attached to dozens of fake fundraising campaigns selling cheap slippers for $60. Viewers who discovered the truth bombarded his actual accounts with angry messages, accusing him of fraud he had nothing to do with.
Stealing my identity and using my identity, and I'm not what they say I am. And I don't like what they're doing, but how can you stop them?
Saftarides isn't the only target. Charles Ray, an 85-year-old retiree in Michigan, has also had videos from his TikTok account repurposed without his permission. The cruelty of this identity theft extends beyond simple fraud. These men built their online presence on authenticity and craftsmanship. They shared their skills freely, asked for nothing in return, and found joy in connecting with people. Now their faces are associated with deception, their reputations tainted by schemes they never knew existed. And what these fake shelters are actually selling will make you furious. Forget everything about supporting struggling shelters or handmade craftsmanship. What these emotional campaigns actually peddle are generic, dog-shaped house shoes, mass-produced in factories, available on AliExpress for $3. Those special slippers lovingly made by shelter volunteers? They're identical to cheap imports, sold for $59.99 with markups justified entirely by fabricated sob stories. Let that sink in. A $3 slipper becomes a $60 handmade donation. That's a 2,000% markup. But the markup isn't the most profitable part. It's the emotional urgency that eliminates price sensitivity. When someone believes they're saving a shelter from closure, $60 doesn't seem unreasonable. The dropshipping model makes this infinitely scalable. No inventory, no shipping coordination, no customer service. Orders automatically trigger purchases from Chinese suppliers who ship directly to customers. The scammers never touch the product. Minimal investment, maximum emotional leverage, and when things go wrong, the shell company disappears and reappears under a new name. It's just scary how these operations mimic legitimate businesses. Return policies, customer service emails, fake reviews from supposed customers praising both product quality and the noble cause. But how are scammers creating these fake videos at scale? The infrastructure behind these campaigns would impress any marketing agency. It starts with content harvesting. Bots scrape platforms like TikTok and YouTube, searching specifically for videos featuring elderly people showing concentration, fatigue, or contemplation. The algorithm identifies faces, estimates ages, and analyzes expressions to determine which clips will be most effective. Then, using AI-powered editing tools, they subtly alter facial expressions, adjusting lighting for somber moods, and synthesize audio matching the subject's voice patterns. You get an authentic material modified just enough to change the narrative without triggering detection systems. Oh, the psychological engineering here. The videos always begin with sweet elderly men and women imploring you to stop scrolling and help save their struggling animal shelter. That "please stay for 8 seconds" is optimized for maximum engagement. They've systematized empathy. Different demographics get different triggers. Younger viewers see rescued puppies. Older viewers see elderly owners' personal struggles. They've literally mapped human compassion and turned it into conversion funnels. Scale becomes clear when you realize they're running dozens of accounts simultaneously across platforms. You won't believe each has its own backstory, supposed shelter location, and product line, but they're all connected to the same dropshipping network. When one account gets banned, others continue operating right away. Scammers have weaponized social media's fundamental architecture. Platforms reward content generating strong reactions, and nothing generates stronger reactions than perceived suffering. By combining real emotional triggers with fake narratives, they've created perpetual content machines algorithms can't help but promote. If TikTok knows this is happening, why aren't they stopping it? TikTok, in a statement to The Guardian, said its community guidelines prohibit impersonation accounts and content that violates intellectual property rights. So, when faced with obvious systematic fraud, you'd expect swift action. Instead, you get whack-a-mole the platform seems determined to lose. When users report fake shelter accounts, TikTok's automated systems often fail to identify sophisticated deceptions. Banned accounts get replaced within hours by identical operations using slightly different names. Both Saftaridis and Ray have had difficulty getting the stolen videos removed, even after reporting them. These videos generate massive engagement, millions of views, thousands of shares, extensive comment debates. From TikTok's perspective, controversial content keeping users active is valuable, regardless of fraud. TikTok collects interaction data on every view, share, and click through to external sites. This behavioral information is valuable for advertisers, creating perverse incentives where platforms profit from engagement generated by emotional manipulation. Scale makes meaningful enforcement nearly impossible. But that's not accidental, it's architectural. With over 1 billion users uploading millions of videos daily, TikTok built systems too large for human oversight and too complex for automated understanding. A perfect cover for scams exploiting gaps between policy and enforcement. When media covers these scams, suddenly featured accounts get banned quickly. The response time difference between media attention and user reports reveals platforms absolutely have rapid enforcement capabilities. They just choose not to deploy them unless reputations are at stake. So, when people buy those $60 slippers after watching fake videos, are they victims too? The woman who spent $60 on dog slippers to help save a shelter isn't stupid. She's not gullible or deserving of mockery. She saw genuine distress and responded with generosity. Having her kindness exploited doesn't make her complicit. It makes her a victim. This is psychological manipulation at work. Not about failing due diligence before purchases, about content specifically engineered to bypass critical thinking and trigger immediate emotional responses. Neuroscience shows emotional arousal literally impairs brain regions responsible for skeptical analysis. Stronger emotions mean weaker rational evaluation. These scammers are weaponizing fundamental human psychology that evolved to help us respond quickly to genuine crises. Buyers who get angry discovering the truth aren't mad about losing $60. They're furious about having their compassion manipulated, their desire to help turned against them, their best instincts used to fund someone else's worst behavior. That's not buyer's remorse. That's psychological assault. The thing is, this way people don't just lose money, they lose trust. Trust in social media content, trust in legitimate fundraising, trust in their ability to distinguish authentic appeals from manufactured manipulation. The real cost isn't overpriced slippers, it's the cynicism that follows. Real animal shelters suffer most from this trust erosion. When people become skeptical of online fundraising, legitimate organizations struggle to reach donors. Fake campaigns create donation fatigue, hurting the very causes they claim to support. Elderly creators whose identities were stolen face harassment from people believing they participated in scams. George the Tailor didn't just lose control of his image, he became a target for anger directed at crimes he never committed. If this structure feels familiar, it's because you've seen variations for decades. Platforms change, products evolve, but fundamental exploitation of human empathy remains consistent. Remember early 2000s email forwards? Bill Gates will send you money. Complete fabrication. But it spread because people wanted to help sick children. Identical mechanics, fabricated tragedy, urgent action. Simple way to help. Facebook brought GoFundMe fraud on industrial scales. Fake medical emergencies, manufactured house fires, fictitious family tragedies, all triggering the same emotional responses these shelter videos exploit. Stories adapt methods to exploit whatever technology is dominant. Email forwards became social shares, which evolved into viral videos, now being refined into AI-generated emotional triggers. Every iteration gets more refined and harder to detect. The economics driving evolution are simple. Emotional manipulation works and scales infinitely. Scammers perfecting compassion triggers can deploy techniques across millions of victims with minimal additional effort. Only delivery mechanisms change. Psychological exploitation remains constant. This isn't individual criminals discovering empathy is profitable. There's an entire ecosystem of tools, services, and communities refining these techniques. Dropshipping platforms, automated content creation, fake review generators, and social manipulation services created infrastructure making fraud accessible to anyone willing to exploit kindness. TikTok's video emphasis makes scams more convincing. Instagram's shopping integration makes emotion-to-purchase transitions seamless. This progression normalized empathy exploitation. We've accepted online spaces filled with manufactured emotional appeals. That authenticity is rare, that skepticism is necessary for digital survival. This creates cultures where genuine help calls get met with suspicion, and real vulnerability gets dismissed as probable manipulation. So what can you do the next time you see one of these videos? The goal isn't making you suspicious of every emotional appeal online. Absolutely not. The world needs people responding to genuine help calls, and cynicism isn't the answer to manipulation. You need to develop verification without paranoia. It means confirming authenticity while maintaining empathy capacity. Start with sources. Real shelters have physical addresses, business licenses, and established presences extending beyond single viral videos. They have websites with staff pages, adoption galleries, detailed operational information. They've posted consistently over months or years, not just during fundraising emergencies. Look for cross-platform consistency. Real operators have matching information across websites, social media, and campaigns. Stories remain stable across posts and platforms. Scammers create multiple backstory versions with changing details because they're improvising fiction rather than documenting reality. Pay attention to product sourcing. Legitimate organizations are transparent about item origins. They show workshops where volunteers create products, introduce makers, explain how sales directly support missions. If products look identical to mass-produced items available elsewhere, that's a red flag. Use reverse image searches. Right-click photos or video screenshots and search for identical images. Real shelters use original photos of actual facilities and animals. Scammers recycle stock photos or steal from legitimate organizations. Check for artificial urgency. Legitimate campaigns have natural timelines based on real circumstances. Scams create artificial deadlines, preventing careful consideration. Only 24 hours left, or this is our last chance, are just manipulations rather than genuine crisis communication. Don't let scam awareness prevent helping legitimate causes. Fraud existence doesn't mean all appeals are fake. Authentic organizations deserve verification steps. Real shelters benefit when supporters take time confirming legitimacy, because it demonstrates serious helping intent. When encountering suspected scams, report them right away. Flag on discovery platforms, report to consumer protection agencies, warn others in social networks. More recognition and reporting makes schemes harder to sustain. 5 minutes confirming legitimacy could mean the difference between supporting real causes and funding exploitation schemes. Knowing this could save you from more than just fake slippers. Because they didn't steal money, they stole trust. And the more we know, the harder it becomes for them to get away with it. These scammers turned kindness into business models, transformed empathy into inventory, and corrupted the feedback loops that make digital communities work. Every person falling for these schemes becomes more suspicious of the next emotional appeal. Every dollar diverted to fake causes doesn't reach legitimate organizations. Every stolen identity makes authentic creators look suspicious. The fake dog slipper scam reveals techniques appearing across countless schemes with different products, stories, but identical psychological mechanics. Once you understand how trust gets weaponized for profit, you start seeing patterns everywhere. Share this so others don't fall for it. And next time, we're exposing an even bigger online con hiding in plain sight. The funeral home secretly selling corpses, and how an industry built on dignity became a marketplace for human remains. The pattern goes deeper than you imagine.